Introduce the post-draft to us.
Good evening or good afternoon. This is the 2015 post-draft fantasy baseball review. I'm Tom Polina. This is my cousin Richie Saliambeni. I guess we don't have the hat today.
No hat today.
No hat today. Thank God. So this is going to be an evaluation, a quick evaluation of people's teams, a review of the draft, and some things to come. And for the new people, some things you could expect to come from the year ahead. Rich, take it away.
Well, we're just going to go in draft order, and when each team comes up, we'll talk about it, and then at the end of the post-draft review, I'll just talk a little bit about how I thought the draft went, and just give a little quick recap, and then that's it. And you guys are welcome to watch it or whatever you want to do. Okay?
So let's take it away. We're going to start right out the gate and get down to business. The first team we're going to talk about is, obviously, this guy comes through all the time, Bistro Smokers and Sal and Walter.
Yeah.
Rich, what we're going to start with is a question. What do you make of George Springer, of one of their back-to-back picks in rounds 2 and 3, which to me personally seemed a little early, but we'll see what you have to say.
Well, the thing is that, in 2014, they did the same thing and took Bryce Harper with their first pick. And I didn't know why Bryce Harper was all over people's radar as a first-round pick. And I think they kind of made the same mistake here with George Springer. I mean, in my research, I never had Springer as that high of a pick. I mean, I couldn't discover it. And mainly I don't discover it because his numbers just don't show it. I mean, he's a low 200 hitter. He strikes out way too much. And I think it's part of their overthought preparation, too much preparation. It's almost like a repeat of the Harper mistake from the year before. And I just don't see it.
They're going by homers.
I just don't see George Springer going that early. That's my opinion about it.
What do you think? How did they handle having the number 1 pick and all that it encompasses?
Well, when you have the number 1 pick, you have to wait like 28 picks before you go again. And yes, you do get the top player.
Which was very obvious.
Yes, Mike Trout. We all know that. And
nobody speculates on
yeah. And then with the back-to-backs, sometimes you got to think a little bit more. Like, when it's time to get closers, do you go back-to-back closers, and etc. And, I really think that they did not handle it well. I think the wait... a lot of times you're like waiting and anticipating and you're trying to hope a name comes back to you. Mm-hmm. And in a tough draft room with so many tough and experienced drafters, the names just kept falling off their list. And when it got to them, they really weren't ready to make another pick or adjust because so many names have gone. I don't think they handled it well.
Well, having said that, how would you best describe their draft then?
I thought the draft was inconsistent. It was a roller coaster ride. I mean, rounds 10 through 15, it was very weak. Matt Adams, Lorenzo Cain, Brett Cecil, Scooter Gennett, Steve Souza, Drew Smiley. Then a little comeback 16 through 20. Headley, Myers, Pompey, Cozart, Nice. And then their last 5 picks were a total disaster. Andrew Haney, Wilmer Flores, Tanner Walk, J.J. Hardy, Alex Guerrero. Not to mention Buster Posey in the 5th round. I mean, come on, dude.
You know what, though? I think, as we've discussed in the past, Buster Posey is a favorite of theirs.
Yes.
And they do like to have him on their team. And, I mean, you can't fault people for having favorites. I wouldn't. But they feel like it's part of their strategy, and they've done well before.
Posey doesn't have the supporting cast to deserve that high of a pick. Regardless if he's the best catcher in baseball, he's never going to repeat that MVP award.
Do you have any mistakes that they may have made during that draft, even though you sort of hinted at them just then with some of the things that you said? Are there any other mistakes that you may feel they have made?
They only ended up with 1 closer. That was their big mistake. And, I'm going to say that's really it. I mean, the closer, Buster Posey too early, and their last 5 picks, they didn't close it out well. Total mistakes.
Do you like anything about the Bistro Smokers?
I like their pitching. I mean,
besides the short ribs.
Yeah, the short ribs are great. Thanks, Sal. The pitching looks to be a strength, but then again, they still don't have the closer, and they need to find a role, or they need to get rid of Tanner Rock because he has no role. So that's about it.
What odds do you give them finally?
Overall, I don't think they have a shot. I mean, this is a team that was just too inconsistent in the draft, too much to overcome. They didn't handle them 1 pick, and I'd give them 301 odds. No shot here. Very disappointing draft for them.
Wow. So you think they're going to do the worst they've ever done in this being part of the league? Because they've done good out of the gate.
It's a big wake-up call for them.
The next team we're going to be talking about is a new team to the league. But obviously, they're going to hopefully make a mark, is Team Tecchio. Father and son combo.
Jared and Leo. Welcome.
Jared and Leo, welcome once again. Rich, having the second pick, was Andrew McCutchen the right choice at number 2? I was a little surprised, but having a new team in the league, it's not so surprising.
Well, I'm not going to say it's the wrong pick. I just think that McCutchen has a ceiling, and we've seen it. And, I think it was more of a safe pick because maybe they weren't sure about Cabrera. They didn't have the balls to take Jose Abreu. I'm going to say that it was a safe thing to do, and that the only thing is that the Andrew McCutchen pick, number 2 overall, right away affects the first round and what's about to come.
Right away, absolutely.
So, you know what I mean?
And he did cut his dreads.
Yeah, he cut his dreads.
He might have more speed.
I don't know. It totally, right out of the gate, we changed the first round. It was unexpected.
Well, what do you feel are the keys to Leo and Jared's success this year, if they're going to have any at all?
I thought they had a solid draft, but I think their team comes down to 4 players, and 3 of them I don't like. Okay? Ryan Braun, Bryce Harper, Jason Kipnis, and Starlin Castro.
And I think Ryan Braun already has some issues already, if I'm not mistaken.
Ryan Braun, he's never on my list. I take him off. He was a PED user, and right away out of the gate, again with the oblique, it tends to bother him. Kipnis can't hit lefties. I do not like him. Starlin Castro, the only hope for him is if Madden could Madden's the right manager for Castro. Okay, and the team's energy. So I kind of like him. And then Bryce Harper, he's probably going to be one of the 4 that if any one of them do good, but I just think he's overrated.
Having said that, what do you like about Team Techio?
I love their pitching. I mean, I can't believe DeGrom went before Tyson Ross. I think it's a nice combo. They got 2 closers along with depth in Gio, Cashner, and Carlos Martinez. I think they have a solid offense that may lack average, but I think that's the only real fault I see in this team. They got solid pitching, but it all comes down to the 4 guys I mentioned before.
So I guess how did they overall handle the draft?
Considering they're new to our league and they don't know the competition level and 15 teams and having a second pick, the long wait, looking at their roster, I think they handled it well. It was noisy in there. It was getting late. It was a long draft. They had to go home, a long ride. Overall, I thought they did very well.
Having said all that, what odds do you give Team Techio?
I kind of like their team. I think they're pretty solid.
You had mentioned that to me before.
I don't give them the best odds. I mean, they're 40-1. I don't think they're going to win it, but they should come in 3-5 and maybe an outside.
And we're going to state that 40-1 is actually very good for the odds that he gives out. He definitely does not give out generous odds, unless it's to himself, of course.
They did a solid job.
Okay. The next team we're going to talk about is Richie Stark, the Metropolitans. Rich, do you think that Richie Stark prepared much for this draft, and that face tells it all?
All signs point to the answer being no to that question. I mean, Starling Marte in the second round, Javier Baez, later in the draft, Dylan Patance's situation. I mean, everybody was kind of aware that, he might split the role with Miller, plus he didn't have a good spring. Injury after injury after injury Richie Stark took. Dominic Brown, Alex Cobb, Homer Bailey, Sean Doolittle, Chris Carter in the 9th. These are all just signs of just not preparing at all.
It sounds like you're saying that he drafted a lot of players with red flags. Is that the case?
Yeah, definitely. In a 15-team league, you can't do this. So again, another sign of not being prepared. And there's not much out there in free agent land, and you're going to get out of the gate slowly and have too much work to do. So I don't know. He didn't do much here.
With all these red flags, is there enough support for a player like his number 1 pick, Goldschmidt?
Absolutely not. Richie there's not enough support on this roster. Absolutely not.
What is your evaluation and the odds that you do give the Mets?
Because
it doesn't look good.
I really don't want to knock Richie down that much because he's a respectable individual, and I could be wrong about his team, but I gotta let the evidence speak for himself. And this team has all the makings of a disaster, and it's going to be a migraine headache. And you know what? Honestly, he's my prediction for last place, 1,000-1.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Rich. I don't see it. No preparation here.
The next team we're going to talk about is John Torchio and Team Chris Archer. Don't say names.
Well, Team Archer. Now we could say because he was drafted already.
All right. How do you really feel about that?
It sucks.
Listen, did we somehow witness the old John Torchio rearing its ugly head?
Yeah, I think that right out of the gate, I don't know if Torch had other things going on, but he came early, but he was the first one to mention, we got to speed it up, and it's getting late, and I got to be somewhere.
Surprisingly.
And, the old Torch used to always rush and not close the draft out well. So, he faded at the end. His last 9 or 8 rounds really stunk.
He had his hand on his cheek a lot.
He was restless. He was tired. You know what I mean? And that was the old Torch. He was in full effect.
What do you have to say about drafting Carlos Santana? And he is not even ending up a catcher, which I thought was a little weird as well.
Yeah, again, I just think that Torch, blew it here. And, if you're going to draft Carlos Santana, you got to make sure he ends up at catcher. But this is part of his back end of the draft, which he faded at. And I really didn't talk about it. But from round 17 through 25, Angel Pagan, Russell Martin, Jose Ramirez, Shane Green, Michael Taylor, Marcus Semien, Chase Anderson, David Peralta, Pat Neshek. His last 9 picks were flat out horrible. You can't draft Santana and not end up with him at catcher. Simple.
Yeah, but having drafted all those people and not taking advantage of the number 4 pick with having Miguel Cabrera fall to him, what do you think about that?
Yeah, Miguel Cabrera falling number 4, you got to be kind of lucky because I had him number 2. Even with the injury.
I as well.
I just think that Torch is going to end up being frustrated with this team. He's going to fall into the same Torch trap, and he's going to end up trading Miguel Cabrera.
McGuire. Yeah, that's right. Oh, you spelled it wrong.
I did. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, dude. Now, having stated all those things before about, I guess, teasing him about us helping him, even though we did so many times in the past, and he doesn't like that publicly. It seems like he avoided it.
Yes.
On purpose, I believe, to his own demise this time. Were we in Torch's head somehow?
Yeah.
And were we intentionally trying to get in his head?
It's funny because we don't mind helping Torch out, but I think the fact that we talked about in the pre-draft video how he comes over to the table,
right.
And I also revealed a little bit that he had called me up and asked me about a couple of players.
A couple?
He intentionally never came over to us. Almost like he struggled to stay in the table.
He did.
At the table.
He crossed his legs and did the pee-pee, hold.
And it affected him. I just think that we were in his mind. I think that the whole draft, I don't know, something was going on, and
he had a lot going on, it looked like.
I don't know. He's supposed to be a Jedi Master, and I think we were in his head, no doubt.
He's a master of something.
Not much.
What are the odds that you give Team Archer for this year, 2015, and rubbing your hands? It doesn't look good.
I just think that this is a bad team. We're not sure. We didn't talk about it, but what's Matt Kemp going to give him? I
actually like Matt Kemp.
I just think that Torch is going to, just get radical. And what we may hear again from Torch? What we always used to hear?
What?
This is my last year. Right?
Really?
I think you're going to get that again from Torch.
He's going to do gay talk.
Gay negative talk.
Wow.
Yeah.
This might be my last year.
Yeah,
Wow.
I just think that Torch is going to be frustrated all year.
Wow.
No shot, 400 to 1 odds.
The next team we're going to talk about is Tony's Tigers, who made it to the draft. And he doubted you so much. I didn't. I knew you'd be there. What do you think about Tony's team? And what I'm going to start off with, I'm going to change that question. Was it a mistake for Tony to wait 8 rounds before he took his 3rd pitcher?
Yeah, well, I think sometimes...
Having started off with Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, he started off with Clayton Kershaw, and then he took Craig Kimbrell, round 1, round 3, Kershaw, Kimbrell. And I think sometimes when you take a Kershaw, you almost forget about pitching because you're like, okay, I got the ultimate guy. I could hold off on it. And then sometimes as the draft goes on, you get lost and, you forget about what you need. And he waited too long. Yeah, you got Kershaw. Yeah, you got Kimbrell, but there's not enough there. Kershaw is great, but he could carry you so much. So, I just think that he waited too long.
To take his second starting pitcher.
Second starter, or just
right,
to
that's
add
what you
to
said.
it.
We'll clarify with that.
Kershaw sometimes throws people off, and he threw Tony off.
And your notes throw me off sometimes
I know,
as well.
I know. What do you got?
How do feel? I'm going to read it just as it states. How do feel Prince Fielder in round 4 and Unga Bunga Bunga and Victor Martinez in round 5? I would assume that translates into how do you feel about Prince Fielder being taken in round 4 and Victor Martinez being taken in round 5?
Well, I thought there was a lot of weird aspects and picks about the draft. But if you're talking about first base position,
right,
you got to be very happy if you get Prince Fielder in round 4 and V. Martin.
Well, I know you
5.
liked Prince Fielder going in.
I did.
I didn't. Him. I know you do.
I liked him as a rebound, so I think Tony did very well with this, and he needs to. V. Martin needs to repeat last year, which is going to be hard to do, and Prince Fielder needs to rebound from last year. But I have faith in them. I thought he did well here.
How do you feel Tony can benefit from his reserve players?
Well, I mean, Tony lacks a little bit in power, so if Rusney Castilla could get called up right away,
Which you wanted.
I wanted Rusney Castilla. He took
You
on me.
did.
Very unexpected, because you don't expect a Tony Palumbo to take someone like that.
Right. You said he was following the book and following the internet, that he couldn't possibly have studied, that he could never make a pick like that.
Yeah, he's following
That's
something
not on
else.
the cards, by the way.
He's following something else. I don't want to go to the extreme that he's getting coached like 24 home run, but something else is going on here.
Wow, the side did.
Yeah, Rusty
Side did.
Castillo.
We're not even up to them.
Rusty Castillo, and he also has Josh Hamilton, who's going to wait about a month. So if these guys could come and inject a little bit of power into Tony's team, 'cause
So you
he's gonna
feel he
need it.
doesn't have enough power?
He doesn't
on
have
his
enough
team.
power, and he's going to need it. You know, to.
What's the assessment of Tony's Tigers, and what kind of odds do you give him?
I'm going to give Tony about 250 to 1. All signs point to Tony being a little too active with this team and being more aggressive in his search for more starting pitching. I don't see much power, and Tony desperately needs speed. So he probably has the worst speed of anybody in the team. 250 to 1, and I just think that he needs to be more active and aggressive to handle this situation.
Another team we're going to go on to right now is the Other Guys, a team you had very big doubts about showing up to the draft as well.
Well, you know, last minute they called up, so you never know.
Right, but I had to hear it.
Well,
What-
you got the
what-
15 teams. I mean, Jesus.
Is there anything else you want to say about them?
No, they're good. He's great.
Oh, okay, there we go. Was Joey's draft anything more than just following a magazine?
I don't think it was. I mean,
Joey D'Amico.
Joey
by the way.
D'Amico. Tommy D'Amico couldn't make it. He had a business trip to take, and he sent his son. And sometimes with these young kids, they, you know, they have a, you know, they could, you know, they have better memories, and they could hold information more than us as we get older. And I don't think there was much.
They could watch a hockey game.
They
too
could watch
while
a
they're
hockey
drafting.
game and draft. So this is what I'm trying to say. He was just watching a computer, watching a list, picking guys who were on the computer.
Picking fast though. He
Picking
didn't hold
fast.
us up.
No, he held it. Like I said, they retain information. They're the ones that never hold a draft. Young kids, like when we were young, we were quick.
Yeah.
And just like him, but he was nothing more than just picking off the list from the magazine or anything. Not more than that.
Premature picking
Yes.
from young people.
No plan. There was no plan whatsoever.
Is there too much age to worry about on this team?
I think so. Albert Pujols, Matt Holliday, Michael Kadaya, Mike Napoli, Mark Buehle, Billy Butler. You know, some of these guys are constantly on the DL and they're a little bit old. If 3 or 4 of them get hurt, and considering that Tommy D'Amico and Joey D'Amico aren't the most energetic and active owners, there's no way to be able to handle this if the age goes wrong.
But what do you like about this team then?
I love the Corey Kluber and Matt Holliday combination. I mean, this is unexpected when someone like a Joey D'Amico has the balls to do this.
You mean Matt Harvey?
Matt Harvey and
Not-
Corey Kluber.
Right, not Matt Halliday.
You know, did I say that?
Yeah, by
Or
accident.
Matt Harvey and Corey Kluber. This combination is deadly. It could be the deadliest in the league.
Like your farts.
You know, and I do like Harrison and Ben Zobrist because they have that position flexibility. So
Okay.
there was a couple of things to like with their team. Not much.
Now, one pick that was really weird, and I feel it was too, was how does a pick like Wade Davis affect this team and their standings in it?
Well, you know, there was a lot of people left in round 16 when they took Wade Davis. And
Who probably wouldn't have gotten drafted.
he would have never gotten drafted, so it's a wasted pick. And they also were unable to get another closer, so this is going to affect them because if any one of
And
their
there were closers available at that time.
there might have been
No, there was.
a couple of injured guys. Yeah, I would have took a shot on, but if anything goes wrong with their old guys who constantly get hurt, along with this round 16 wasted pick, it's going to be a struggle.
What do you think about their odds?
I give them 200 to 1. Joey flashed some signs on occasion of brilliance. Buckholz, Napoli, Butler late. They may pay off. He never caused a delay in the draft. He remained cool, calm, collected. But health is a must. They have to find speed. Belt and Polanco need to perform. I don't know. It's going to be an unexpected draft performance, but I don't know, not much. The management is just not good enough.
The next team we're going to talk about, which I have absolutely no notes on, is Gem.
I'm going to ask you. Okay, so we are talking about Gem, and I'm going to ask Tom some questions live on the spot.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's in my opinion that Jose Abreu was a no-brainer at number 7. Could we be wrong about him at number 7? I mean, could we be wrong about him in general?
Well, you can move him any around those picks, but for that spot, there was nobody else for me that I was going to pick. I couldn't believe that he fell to me. to that spot. We had different opinions as to where he would go. You felt he can go as high and should go as high as number 2. I felt he should go around 5. But I wasn't particularly happy with the 7th pick. I was after I got Jose Abreu, though, because then I smacked down in the middle of a very advantageous position. So yes, I feel Jose Abreu is phenomenally justified at 7. That's speculating on 1 year, though, and his age of proving it in Cuba.
And if he would have gone, who else would you have had in mind, perhaps? Or
It's tough, but I would have been looking at it. We've talked about it before. I would have been looking, which he wouldn't have fell there, so I'm not going to even talk about him. I was looking at probably Edwin Encarnacion or Carlos Gomez, leaning probably towards Carlos Gomez because of the steals and Encarnacion's back issues. But I would not have taken like a Jose Bautista or Troy Tulowitzki or anything like that. Those are the 2 people that I would have picked from.
Okay. Now, I don't think Tommy did a really good job from rounds 18 to 25. Luis Valbrena, Kyle Loesch, Jordy Mercer, Mike Minor, Jake Lamb, Michael Bourne, Kyle Gibson. I mean, are you hoping for at least 50% of these guys to come through? Or am I wrong about my evaluation?
No, your evaluation's probably sort of spot on in hindsight. I do believe in the 3 guys before, like I believe in Jordy Mercer, I believe in Luis Valbuena.
And Everett Cabrera was one of them.
Everett Cabrera, I totally believe in, believe it or not. He's with Buck Showalter, and Buck Showalter has a way to whip people into shape, and he is a starting shortstop. The only problem I had was with those picks that you mentioned. Obviously, Kyle Loesch, who got absolutely tattooed the other day, which I was extremely happy about. You can imagine. Ruining my great pitching day. Jake Lamb is a tough pick because
he's doing well, by the way.
He's doing well, but hopefully they don't split time.
They're not going to.
With Aaron Hill, who's washed up.
Forget Hill.
But I like, in all seriousness, Luis Valbuena, Jake Lamb, and Jordy Mercer. I totally believe in. If they happen to pan out, that'll be good for me, especially in the stolen bases, not necessarily in the power category.
I like Lamb. He hit in the minors, and I just think that the D-backs are going to trade Aaron Hill and Mark Trumbo because they need to open up the crowded outfield and look for both of them to move on that team. You're definitely one of the teams that prepares a lot more than others, especially with the minor leaguers and going deep. Do you feel like you took Jock Peterson and Chris Bryant at the right time? Chris Bryant in the 6th round, Peterson in the 8th?
Chris Bryant, I think I took at the right time because, especially with having 2 new people from an auction league coming in, you don't know what they're going to do. If I had just the people that I know, then I probably would have waited 1 round, but not much more than that. So I'd have to say, yes, I do feel like I picked Bryant in the right place. As far as Jock Peterson goes, as you know, I was upset at that time. The one time I was upset when J.D. Martinez went, and I immediately blurted out Jock Peterson. I felt I could have gotten him later, meaning 1 or 2 rounds later, but not much more than that. So in all honesty, yeah, I think I got him at the right spot. I do not believe they'll be batting him 9th the whole year. They definitely will be starting him, and the guy to me is a beast. He had a retarded spring. And if you look at my notes, I have the book here. The notes I have is go get this guy. And I was watching him from January till now, and absolutely, I think I took both of them at the right time. And if Chris Bryant pans out, well,
everybody wanted Bryant. Everybody wanted Peterson. I thought you took him at the right time. Mattingly's old school. He's just not going to put Peterson number 2. He likes to let players earn their spot. So don't worry about Peterson.
But also remember, he put him at 9.
Yeah, but he'll put him at 2 and 2.
But he put him at 9,
Double
which is
leadoff.
right, which is like a double leadoff, and he steals bases, and obviously he shows he could run already.
Yeah, he could play. He could play. During the days leading up to the draft, when we talked earlier, you were kind of leaning more offensively. Then leading up, you kind of changed your plan. Why?
At first, as you know, I usually study completely when I'm away. I wasn't away this time. I studied phenomenally in January. We had both talked about going offense. In the last 3 days is when I really came back, because February and March I was done.
Yeah.
And I had a lot going on my plate. But those last 3 days I started looking at things and I started realizing how little pitching there was. So I made it a point, and actually I was targeting Kershaw in the first round, if everybody wants to know my strategy this year. When Abreu fell to me, it was obviously a no-brainer. And then the second round was the only decision I had was either to go put Price ahead of Cueto or Cueto ahead of Price. And I leaned towards Cueto. I had to look at his numbers. I had to get past the fact that he pitches in a bandbox, but it made me pick him even more. To have the years that he's had in a small ballpark like that was a no-brainer for me. He's not signed. He's not under contract. The guy is a beast. He's a pinpoint control person.
Great ratio.
And the way to come back with Price is a no-brainer to me. Those kind of guys are not out there. Super studs like that do not come around every day. And the other guys are not guaranteed. I wasn't interested in... what's his name on Washington? Scherzer, he just signed a big contract. He does pitch in a big ballpark, but he signed a big contract, dude. They don't have that enthusiasm.
Price went too late. He should have went way before the third round.
Third round, dude, Price.
Great answers. I mean, I'm just going to give my odds for him. I just think that all Tommy needs to do is handle this lack of power. Now, Chris Bryant's going to add power to the team, hopefully in a week or two. Leonis Martin, Adam Eaton, Michael Bourne, Everett Cabrera, Jordy Mercer is a little lacking in power. So if Tom could find a power, and he has the pitching to get it because he's got Cueto, Price, Cishek, Cody Allen, Glenn Perkins, Jeff Samardzija.
Cishek, another guy. Great.
Yeah, he's fine though. I wanted him.
Oh my God! Bring him in an unsafe situation.
I give Tommy 10-1 odds, and I give him a championship shot. Yes.
Championship
shot. No, you got to sit down. Honestly, this is a team stacked with pitching, so come on, Tom, we got to finish the video.
Only
10-1 championship odd possibility. Gem.
That's it. Last place for me when I get that kind of cosign. The next team we're gonna go to, thank you,
You're welcome.
is a guy that got me a couple times in the draft with two players. Is Clash of Kings Gary Accordino. The first question I'm going to ask is, are you sold? How funny! Are you sold on J.D. Martinez as I am?
You know, J.D. Martinez has been very inconsistent in his career. I remember when he came up with Astros and he had that great first month and then flattened out.
Faded.
And then last year he came up
and did well.
A month and he did well. So he has...
Very well.
Very well. His saber,
in a big ballpark.
His sabermetric numbers were great last year. But, based on his career and based on his inconsistency, I just don't believe in him. I'm not sold on him. I actually think he's going to end up being a play that's going to get dropped later on.
He did have a phenomenal spring as well.
I don't like him at all.
What should Gary expect from his risk-reward picks, and can you expand on that?
Well, I think Gary took about 4 players that were risk-reward. Anthony Rendon, who, before he got hurt, he was a target of mine, late first round, early second.
He was.
Position flexibility, second base, third base. But the knee injury is going to take away a little bit of his value at stolen bases, and you never know with a knee injury. He's probably going to play with a brace all year, so I would be very scared of him.
They're definitely not going to run him.
The reward could be, I got this guy late, you know what I mean? And that's a value there. Jake McGee, Gary needs a closer now. Benoit, loses his job. Luke Gregerson is his other guy. So he needs McGee to come back and get that role in about 2-3 weeks. Jason Worth, he's lucky that Michael Taylor's going to play for Span as well. But now here, Michael Taylor gets to showcase his ability. So if he does well, are they going to sit Worth? Are they going to rest him? Are they going to sit Span? Are they going to rest him? Worth's contract's big, so he's not going to go anywhere. So again, the reward would be as of Worth, because sometimes Worth's OPS is really high. And Micah Johnson, winning the second base job, he's still 80, 90 bases a year in the minors. So the risk reward in 4 guys, I think a lot. Gary's results this year will, have to specifically count on these guys.
Well, you had mentioned the Joaquin Benoit situation. What do you think about his lack of attention to closers? And even if Benoit didn't lose his closer job, that's still a very iffy pick, as that's your, I guess, anchor closer. What do you think about that?
I just think in a 15-team league, you can't come out of the draft with your closers being Benoit and Gregerson. Now, Gary himself knew it because he also took Jake McGee. So he knew in his mind that he didn't do the best job with the closers, and it might cost him some headaches. And this is it. Already a headache out of the gate, and it's going to be like this all year.
What do you like about Gary's team? Clash of Kings.
There's where did I put that answer?
Lots to like. Lots to like.
I'm sorry.
Lots to like.
Just because I fucked up, guys. Okay. Just because I don't like J.D. Martinez doesn't mean I'm right about him. You know, his offense and his pitching staff is full of grinders. Gary always drafts grinders, and if you look up and down his lineup, you'll see it's a typical Gary team. You know, if Rendon, Worth, and Johnson pan out, then this will be a force to reckon with here. You know, his pitching looks very solid. You know, Teheran's his anchor, but I like that. I was looking to target Teheran as an anchor. You know what I mean? And even though he gets a blow dealt to him early with Benoit, you know, I look for Gary to be contending the team, and believe it or not, he's my second choice, 7-1 odds to win the title.
Wow.
Yes. I love this team. I love Gary's team. Just look at it. And I'm sorry for screwing up because my notes, I put him in the wrong order. So
You got some weird criticism.
Gary's got a great team here. He's got a great team.
Okay.
Even with his risks.
And no relievers.
Well, he still has 2 relievers.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
The next team we're going to talk about is MVP. And what picks do you think Paulie's season will come down to?
Paulie, first of all, thanks for coming on time, Paulie.
Yeah, thanks for bringing the plates,
The
forks.
food was off the hook. That
the
ravioli
forks,
was ridiculous.
if you eat them with your hand.
I think Paulie's team comes down to his first 6 picks. Troy Tulowitzki and his inconsistency, especially with his injuries. Robbie Cano playing in Seattle. Aroldis Chapman. That was the only closer Paulie took. You can't take Chapman in the 3rd round and then never get another closer.
That
makes no sense.
Crazy.
Freddie Freeman with no protection in that lineup, even though he's off to a good start. Carlos Gonzalez, just refer to the notes about Tulo and the risk that he provides. And Evan Longoria, just refer to Freddie Freeman. I mean, no one in that lineup. So those are Paulie's first 6 picks. I mean, they get good names, but there's question marks all over them.
Well, what best describes his draft then?
Paulie reminds you of someone that's like at the crap table in a casino. You know what I mean? He's rolling his dice, and he rolls his dice on so many plays, especially injuries. Paulie drafts a lot of injured guys, and he just hopes that he's going to not crap out as many times as crapping out. I mean, it's just too much gambling with Paulie's draft strategy. That's just my opinion about it.
Can you explain Paulie's decision to waste such a high pick, his 3rd round pick on Aroldis Chapman, while never drafting another closer in the draft, even though we just talked about that?
I can't explain it. Can you explain it?
No, and so we'll move on to the next question. Does Paulie have the ability to win a league? Because he has the ability to run a good business.
You know, I just don't believe so.
And he makes a good Italian combo.
He just, it just shows in his draft. I mean, he's just not prepared. You know, he just takes too many risks and too many gambles. But that's more part about his preparation. He can't win. He can't.
Well, then I guess this question's moot. What are his odds?
You know, Paulie's team is sending me mixed signals because I do like some stuff like Keuchel and Taijuan Walker and Drew Pomeranz and Bradley, Archie Bradley and Lucas Duda. But I give him 200 to 1 odds.
Lucas Duda.
Duda. You know, I just think there's going to be too much to do, and he took too many risks. That's all. 200 to 1. He doesn't have the ability to adjust if anything goes wrong.
200 to 1. The next team we're going to talk about is the Bean Team.
Oh, and you do have the questions.
I do have the questions here, and I'll ask you. Was it your plan to not... This is not fair because you're prepared for these.
Well, especially you can ask me your own questions. Ask me your own questions.
I will. I will, actually. Fuck this.
Look at my...
These are going to here.
Why?
No, because you're prepared for them like an idiot.
Want to have a roster?
No, having gone into the draft... No, because I know your team. Having gone into the draft, we had talked about offense and how you were going to do the same thing.
Yes.
But we had also talked about you were going to grab an anchor.
Possibly.
You did not do those things. You went very heavy on offense, and has to be a major criticism. You did not grab a bona fide anchor, and you waited very long to grab your first pitcher. Now, I know you've been heavily critical of other people not drafting relievers, not drafting their starters in a long time. You took such a long time to draft your first pitcher. I think it was Yordano Ventura in the 8th round.
No, not the 8th round. 6th or 7th round, I believe it was.
No, it's the 8th, and it says that right here.
Oh, it does.
Okay, so yes.
No, but I took Drew Storen in the 7th, so.
Yeah, but Drew Storen is stinky poopies. That doesn't count. We're talking about an anchor.
Yes.
Why did you end up doing that, or was it a case of you just thought the best player was available at the time?
Well, you know, we do talk a lot before the draft, and, you know, I don't always have to reveal everything. I mean, yes, I did want to get an anchor, but I wasn't going to go for the top anchors. Now, I did like David Price, but I didn't want to risk 2nd round. But I felt like Tyson Ross was an anchor that could be right up there with the best of them, and I thought you might be able to get him in the 5th or 6th round. So yes, I was trying to go for an anchor or even a Garrett Richards because I knew the injury would make him slip. And there was a few times when I wanted to take Richards. Did I get an anchor that I wanted? No. I wasn't looking for the top guys. I didn't get Ross or Richards, who I kind of was targeting because I wanted an anchor in the 5th, 6th round because I wanted to go offense. And I settled on Yordano Ventura. And you know what? Not for nothing. He could be an anchor.
You do have a couple, iffy picks at the end of your draft. I know you criticized other people, but a Ryan Ruha, even a Koji Uehara, at 40-something years old. I know he plays for a good team. He does play in a bandbox. Bartolo Colon could turn out to be good. John Lackey, Danny Duffy, Carlos Beltran, that may turn out to be good, but as we all know, if he does good, he does good right out of the gate, and then he goes... Jason Castro, I know that's a filler catcher. You didn't aim for that at all. What do you think about at the end of your draft? There's a lot to be desired there, a lot of speculation. You criticized other people's ends, but yours isn't anything to, shake a stick at.
Well, I'm going to disagree because, John Lackey's solid. I mean, ever since he became a Cardinal, he was solid. Danny Duffy's got good numbers. He plays for a good team. Just look at the numbers. I mean, I did blow it with Castro, but I let catching go. And I kind of blew it also with third base, and I will admit that because I thought third base was deep. But Beltran, Bartolo Colon, Danny Duffy, John Lackey, I'm going to disagree with you. I think it's I closed out the draft well, I think. I mean, I don't know. I felt I did.
All right. Then what kind of odds do you give yourself? Or is there anything you'd like to say about your team? Because you wrote so much.
No, I didn't. This ain't my writing. I didn't write anything.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So what kind of odds do you give yourself?
Well, I thought I only made one bad pick, and it might not be that bad. And I was
because you did, and I quote, 4 times said, "I'm in panic mode."
Oh, I only said it one time.
No, you didn't. You said it 4 times, and I will have a poll about that. How many people think, how many times he said, "I'm in panic mode"? Because the other day, he didn't say, I said it one time. He said, "Oh, I was only saying that to make a joke." And now it's, I only said it one time. So which one is it? Obviously, it's a lie.
You want me to give my odds?
So, no, you can give your odds. But we have to state again that, you don't tell the truth when it comes to your own team. What kind of odds do you give yourself?
I did make one panic pick, C.J. Wilson, but it might pan out in round 14. And I just love this team. I don't think anybody can match my offense. Yasiel Puig, Christian Yelich, Jacoby Ellsbury, Jorge Soler, Melky Cabrera, Carlos Beltran, Anthony Rizzo, Mookie Betts, Mike Moss, and you know what? I'm the 3-1 favorite. Those are the odds.
I'm shocked.
The Bean team is the 3-1 favorite.
I am shocked that would ever happen. The next team we're going to talk about after coming down from the clouds is we're going to talk about the Big Macs, another new team, Ron Perry and Christian McGurk. How do you think Christian and Ron performed on draft day? I thought they personally had a good time, and it was nice having them there.
Yeah, they sat near us.
Gentlemen.
I get them confused too, but I think Christian McGurk was the one that was closest to us.
I would assume so because he was the Irish looking
one. Yeah, I know. He looks
Maybe
Irish.
I'm stereotyping, but that's just me.
And Ron Perry's real name is like Ronaldo or something. Perry.
He does look like a Ronaldo. He's got the extra long hair and the slick mustache.
I thought both our new teams. I mean, I'm so ecstatic, man. I thought they had a great time, and they were very complimentary of our
ecstatic
of our draft. And I think they performed well. I mean, I actually do think they had a plan, even though they didn't take a pitch until the 11th round. But it was more like Christian was like not as like Ron was staring at the computer, and Christian was like surveying the room and engaging more with us. So again, a new league, new players, a tough draft. I think they did okay. I mean, there was some nerves, but it's always nice to sit at your own table as a pawn and not have to worry about anybody else around you. And they were offensive minded.
Did you see anything that maybe in their team management that might enable them to put them in the top half of the league?
I mean, possibly. I mean, they do have a resume from the other league, and even though their first pitcher was Jake Odorizzi, when they started getting into the pitching,
very, very difficult anchor to have.
They drafted Jonathan Papelbon, but they also drafted Ken Giles. Now, this to me shows some ability because, like Gary lost Benoit, they're not going to lose Papelbon, and if they do, they got Giles there already. They picked Boxberger, they picked Mojica late in the draft. They were thinking, okay, Boxberger's the closer temporarily, Mojica's the closer temporarily. So yeah, I do. I like some of the things. It shows that they were thinking and they have ability.
What does this team need to do to contend?
Well, Adrian Beltre needs to stay healthy, and he needs to return. I mean, Beltre to me,
He's not any younger.
He's not any younger. He always gets hurt, but he could be a monster. But he's got to play 150 games.
Can he play 150 games?
I don't know. I don't know. And Michael Brantley needs to repeat, and so does Todd Frazier. And at least two of their starters got to find two more starters as well as some of their starters.
What kind of odds do you give this team?
I'm in love with their offense. Big Max has got a great offense. I just can't get past Odorizzi being their first pitcher. I mean, I think that Team Techie will probably perform better than Big Max in the draft, and I'm going to give them 150 to 1. Too much to do for the Big Max.
Okay. The next team we're going to talk about is your favorite team ever, and that's 24 home run. Chris Bacone and Anthony DeRue.
Yes.
Did they take Yoenis Cespedes too early?
Well, I love Yoenis Cespedes, but I do think...
Because I know you wanted him.
I wanted him. I do think they took him too early. I mean, you can't get lost sometimes when a player goes to another team. I mean, yeah, he's on Detroit, but he's not batting in front of Vmont. Excuse me.
Is it because you're talking about 24 home run?
Of course.
They're in first place?
They got the voodoo dolls.
Is that why? Because they're in first?
No, they're not in first. Because you go to Detroit doesn't mean that you're not hitting in front of Cabrera, you're not hitting in front of Vmont. So you're hitting behind him, which means you got guys like Castellanos and Avila behind you. It's still a big ballpark, and tell me in Cespedes' numbers, his sabermetrics as well, where he deserves to go in the second round. So, I liked him, but the flat out is that he hasn't proven to be a second round pick.
What kind of challenges do you see 24 home run having?
Flat out batting average and speed. I mean, they tend to be weak in these categories throughout the years, and when they don't win, this is one of their negatives, batting average and speed. And this is why that if they want to compete for a title, they're going to have to figure this out. Batting average and speed. They got Wong, they got Owens, but is Wong going to be a 40 stolen base guy? What's Owens going to do? We don't know that.
What areas would you caution Chris and Anthony about as far as their team in the season?
I think they got a couple of players. I mean, like Mark Trumbo, tends to get hurt. His batting average is low. He may get traded.
Horrendous.
Jordan Schaefer, we've seen him have all open up at the first 2 weeks, steal 30 fucking bases in 2 weeks, and then you can't even keep him in the lineup. Michael Pineda looks great in the spring. Everybody talks about him. He always gets hurt, and I just don't know if Santiago Casilla and Hector Rodon are two relievers to rely on.
Well, since you're saying that, let's continue with that. How do you feel about their pitching staff?
Oh, I actually do. I love their pitching staff. I think Anthony and Chris put together a workman-like pitching staff, a typical 24 home run pitching staff, and I think this will be the backbone of their team.
Okay. And having said that, where do you think their season ends up, and what kind of odds do you give them?
I'm a little skeptical in with some of their players, but I actually really, really like this team. I mean, other than batting average and speed, and
Does that make you sick? Does that make you sick?
No, it doesn't make me sick, because when we talk about the draft and hold later on at the end of the video, you'll understand. Anthony and Chris are not, they're my fourth choice, 15 to 1, and they're probably just on the outside of winning a title, but they're definitely one of the contenders. I actually like the team a lot.
The team we're going to go to next is Time Zones, Donald Carrata, Jason Carrata, and Mystery Man.
I think he said his other brother Michael might be the partner.
It might be. It could be anybody on the other end of that phone.
I don't know.
What mistakes did Donald and Jason make during the draft or leading up to it? Because you were pretty critical of their team.
Normally you could tell that they prepare, they talk, but I don't think they talked at all like Donald and his brothers. I mean, you just look at the draft and they didn't show any kind of quick on the spot to make a pick. They called out a lot of names that were repeated, and it just shows. I don't think they came to the draft prepared. And another mistake Donald made that he never makes, and this cost him dearly. He always sits by himself. He sat with another guy, and you can't sit with someone that you grew up with, worked with, because you're going to start talking to the person.
But it's his friend.
I know, but you can't get distracted.
Really good friend.
Donald doesn't work great when he's distracted. He was distracted and he wasn't prepared. And he didn't communicate with his brothers before draft because it shows.
Was Adam Jones the right pick in the first round? And this is a biased question because I know you can't stand Adam Jones for some reason. And I say it's the safest pick in the world. But please, continue.
I think absolutely not. This ain't the type of guy that's going to carry you. And when you have a team full of mistakes, you need your first-round guy to carry you. And 2 years ago, his year was awesome. And last year, he only had 88 RBIs. And yeah, some of his slugging and OPS is good. I just think that you could have went elsewhere. First baseman, Edwin Canarcio. Not he was gone already, but maybe Yasiel Puig or somebody else. I just don't think Adam Jones is the type of first-round pick that's going to carry you. I totally disagree with it.
I think he's rock solid, and you have to start your house with brick by brick. And Adam Jones is a great pick, especially where he had to pick and where he got him, which is number 13. There's not many people much better than that. So Having said that, can they overcome a horrible last quarter of their draft?
I don't know. I mean, if you look at their last...
Because you had faces all draft when they were picking.
You know, Donald disappointed me so much because, you know, he was my pre-draft favorite. But T.J. House, Mark Teixeira, Jake Peavy, Yasmani Grandal, Zach McAllister, Rafael Montero, and Vance Worley.
That's tough.
Those were their last 7 picks. You know, they had no plan, and it showed, and they weren't prepared for a 15-team league, and you can't overcome that.
What explanation can you give for what sounds like a subpar time zones draft performance?
I just didn't think they took the draft too seriously coming in, and didn't take 15-team league too seriously coming in. That's the bottom line, because I can't explain it.
What odds do you give them?
And I think sometimes they're the type of people, they take a year off every once in a while,
right.
Time zones, and we might be getting to the point where they might have to get re-energized, because they did this before and then came back and won. And I kind of see the signs here, that when you don't come to the draft prepared, I don't know. You might have to, they might be looking to get re-energized, just a prediction.
So torch and time zones might be gone.
I don't think they're gone. It's just, you know, they have habits.
The next team we're going to talk about...
Wait, we didn't give the odds.
Okay, what are the odds?
Time zones is one of the worst teams in the league. 500.
I think I have to leave again. This is unbelievable.
500 to 1 odds. Don't go anywhere. I got a cough, guys. 501 odds. Sorry, Donald. Sorry, Jason. Sorry, Michael. Maybe.
He couldn't even say that with a straight face. The next team we're going to talk about, who absolutely has the sloppiest writing out of all these teams right now.
You can't even read this.
I can't even read it. Is Darrell Williamson, the Cream Team, even though it says Darrell Cream.
Yes, and he had the 14th pick.
He had the 14th pick, which is unbelievable.
Yeah. You know,
let's see. Is it, of course, it's a huge question. Is it going to be too much for Darrell to manage these injuries as well as handle the aging players on his team?
Well, see, this is another thing about being prepared. And, you know, with only having 3 reserves and maybe a 1 DL spot, but you can't put guys in the DL that you drafted. I mean, Darrell drafted 4 hurt guys. Coco Crisp, Melvin Upton. You know, I got to think about the guys. Chris Sale. Who else did he draft? I don't have his roster in front of me. Anyway,
right here.
Who else? I don't want to.
I can't read it.
His writing too.
You can't even read it.
You know, and David Ortiz and Nick Marquez and Justin Morneau and Asdrubal Cabrera and Chase Utley and Aramis Ramirez. Old name players that get hurt all the time, as well as drafting guys already hurt. You know, he can't overcome this. Darrell doesn't have the ability.
What would you like to see Darrell change about his in-season management style?
I would like to see Darrell concentrate on his team internally a little bit more. Try to fix it within the league, within the free agent market, and then look to see what he needs, because there's a great chance that by the end of the month, Darrell's going to have 20 different players on his team.
There's a good chance he's going to be the first person to trade.
I'm already talking trade with him.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Darrell, I'm going to have to give you a call soon.
You know, plot a strategy after looking at your team and evaluating, and then make some moves. That's all.
You know, you've been a little critical about his offense, but can his pitching staff carry his offense? Because what looked like a couple good picks in the beginning seemed to fade at the end.
I don't think his pitching staff could carry this offense. He's very weak in average, very weak in stolen bases, and it's just too much. Darrell's going to struggle here.
What odds do you give Darrell, having said all that?
His odds aren't the worst, 250 to 1, but he really has
great.
No shot.
I would take those odds.
He wasted too many picks, and the same old name, same old Darrell. You know, that's all. No shot.
The last team we're going to talk about is Joe Salimbeni and the Bombers.
Man, hi, Joe.
Because I get excited. I love my cousin. I love him. How do you think Joey handled the 15th pick and its back-to-back aspect?
You know, I don't know about you, but I was pleasantly surprised with Joey in the beginning of the draft.
I was too.
You know, if you could have anybody with the back-to-back pick, considering Joey's history and how he kind of like just disrupts a draft, I was happy he had him. He gave him more time to make picks, and his first 6, 7, 8 picks were really spot on. You know, then he kind of blew it a little bit with the 9th and 10th pick. He went Alcides Escobar and Ian Kennedy. You know, and then he also took some risks with Justin Verlander, Kenley Jensen, Dernard Span. You know, he had signs of not being prepared, but I was surprised in the beginning.
Well, where did he make his mistakes in the draft?
Well, I think he made his mistakes, like I said, with taking Kenley Jansen, Justin Verlander, and Dernard Span. Too many hurt guys.
Yeah. Which seems to be a theme of a few teams.
But that's just not prepared. And then the Alcides Escobar and Ian Kennedy, as well as LaTroy Hawkins. Now, not only did he take LaTroy Hawkins, he didn't take another closer. So here again, and then Jared Dyson and Kevin Gossman, and I just
Is he
think
going to be able to manage during the year to work his way into contention?
Absolutely not. I mean, first of all, Joey is never willing to trade.
Right.
Okay.
As is the Damicos as
The
well.
Damicos. So he
We
needs.
talked about this.
He ain't gonna give one guy up to get two back. Like I already talked to him about trading for one of his guys to give him two because he needs it, especially with an injury-riddled team and a team like that. They gotta replace Gausman and Jared Dyson. So I said, I'll give you two. You give me one, especially one of his hurt guys. And he was already hesitant. He's never quick on the trigger. His style alone is not gonna.
And it's a lot of work.
He's just scared to trade. I don't know what it is with him.
Dude.
He doesn't like to improve his team. I don't know.
What is the draft evaluation of the Bombers, and what kind of odds do you give them?
I mean, Joey was off to a flying start with his first 8 picks. Actually, Joey did better with his first 8 picks than Bistro did because Bistro was the other back-to-back team. And I hate to insult Bistro like that, but I'm so disappointed with the team. But then after the 8th round, he just blows it. He wasn't prepared enough, but his odds aren't the worst because every once in a while, he surprises. He does have Lester, Scherzer, and Garrett Richards, so 200 to 1 odds. I give Joey. So I mean, let me ask you a question, Tom. I mean, now that we're done with the teams and their odds, I make myself the favorite with Gary being the second choice at 7-1, then Jim, then 24 home run, and then outside of Team Tecchio. What did you think about the draft? I mean, were you surprised? Was it tough? I mean, anything that comes to your mind in a quick second or two?
Well, I was surprised that, I don't mean to make it personal, I was surprised Jose Abreu fell to me. I was surprised that McCutchen went second. I was surprised how ill-prepared people were at the end, but I also attribute that to people not realizing the depth of a 15-team league and how little spots there are. We've talked in the months coming up to the draft how many pitchers were getting injured. That's what led me to draft how I drafted.
Yes.
We talked about how people have had partners in the past, didn't have them, how they drafted differently, how they drafted better. We also talked about how people do not trade, and that will be their downfall. I'm sorry, but in this league, I don't think I've met a champion that has not traded anything and won.
The 24 round, they might not have made a trade last year. Was the Roger Davis for Kluber trade last year or 2 years ago? That might have been last year. I got to look that up.
I think that was last year. The Kluber trade was last year because they got them from
Metropolitan.
They got a Metropolitan.
I thought they went all year without trading, so it could have been 2 years ago. I'm not sure. I got to look.
It might have been, but either way, basically, unless you have that kind of skill
or luck, like they do.
Like I said, if you have 2 brains, which are better than 1, either way, you have to have some sort of edge to be able to pull something like that off. If you don't have that, you have to trade, and some teams are just not willing to trade, and they're going to be dead weight. We could easily pick them out now. They're the same teams every year. Mm-hmm. They're going to be in the bottom half, and God bless them for being in the league. Thank you for making it, all of them, and I'm glad you're in the league because I'll take that dead weight any day. It makes sure that we're not in last. It makes sure that other people aren't in last. And it puts good players on teams and just takes them totally out of the free agent pool. So basically, having said all that, take some action, be active, and don't be afraid to trade. And engage, because let me tell you something, dude. I'd rather go with people that I can talk with that don't make me pull teeth. I have a life too, as you have a life. Mm-hmm. It's you want to trade. Let's trade and have fun. Let's talk business. Let's not be unrealistic about things. Some people want you to come and kiss the ring finger, or they want to get 8 players for one, and they want to make sure they get a way better deal, and they'll go down with the sinking ship. So God bless them. This is what enables other people to win.
Yeah. And like I said, I was already on the phone or via text with 2 teams already looking to deal. And I don't normally go early at it, but there's a couple of teams that have some injuries, and I'm looking to help them out. But my synopsis of the draft was, I thought the first 6 teams in order, Bistro, Tecchio, Mets, Team Archer, Tony's Tigers, and Joey D'Amico were the weakest teams of the draft, and they happened to be in the front part of the draft, and only Team Tecchio out of the first 6 picks had a solid team. And then the draft really began from 7 to 15. Gem, Clash of Kings, MVP, Bean Team, Big Macs, 24 home run, Time Zones, Cream Team, Bombers. So the draft was really about 7 through 15. They were the only significant teams. They were the only teams that demonstrated any kind of ability other than possibly Team Tecchio. And the winner's probably going to come from one of the teams 7 through 15, minus Time Zones, minus Cream Team, and minus the Bombers. So it was all about 7 through 10, 7 through 11, and no one else really was important in the draft, in my opinion. People struggled. There were some weird picks, and it was a weird draft. I mean, Will Myers in 17. I thought I got Melky Cabrera late. I mean, it was a tough, weird draft, I thought.
It was a very weird draft, but it was a great one. It was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Unlike last year, which you said was a very easy draft.
This was a hard draft.
This was a difficult draft. I thought it was comfortable with the way things fell. But having said that, Rich, do you have anything else to say before we go?
Good luck.
I'd like to thank everybody once again, and thanks for watching this video. If you watch it in its entirety, we give we thank you so much for supporting this league. We appreciate everybody that comes into this league, dead weight or not, and we just want everybody to have fun. Everybody pay good money, and we hope you enjoy yourself and have a great year. Good luck, everybody. For Tom Polina, Richie Salimbeni, we're signing out.
Thank you, everybody, and just remember the winner's going to come from either the Bean Team, Clash of Kings, Gem, 24 home run, and possibly Team Tecchio. Good night. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Sal. Thank you, everybody. Good luck.